You know, in this crazy race to build the next big thing in AI, it feels like one key ingredient is always getting left in the dust, and that's trust. So today, we're going to break down something called ISO/IEC 42001. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but stick with me, because this is the world's first global standard designed to build that trust right into AI. We're going to look at what it is, why it's such a game changer, and what it really means for, well, anyone building or even just using AI.
Okay, so you might be asking, why do we even need another standard? Well, the problem is actually pretty straightforward. AI technology is just moving at this breakneck speed, right? It's advancing way faster than any of the rules or frameworks we have to govern it. And that's created this huge gaping hole between all the cool innovation and any real accountability.
And look, this isn't just some theory we're talking about. A recent study found that a whopping 89% of executives admit they have not fully put responsible AI practices into place. Think about that. That means the vast majority of companies out there are kind of just winging it, operating in this big gray area. And that right there is that massive and frankly risky governance gap we were just talking about.
So this brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? The one that everyone, from the CEO down to the person actually writing the code, is wrestling with right now. How do we use all this incredible AI power without, completely losing control or throwing ethics and safety out the window?
Well, it turns out an answer, or at least a really big part of one, showed up in December 2023. It came in the form of this landmark international standard. Yep, you guessed it. It's ISO/IEC 42001. And its whole purpose, its entire reason for being, is to design trust and accountability right into the very fabric of how organizations manage their AI.
Now, at the heart of this whole thing is a brand new concept, the AI Management System, or AIMS for short. And I want you to think of it less like some boring checklist you have to tick off and more like an operating system for responsible AI. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's this formal framework that you can actually get certified for, and it gives a company a really structured way to handle all its AI stuff, from the very top all the way down.
Okay, and for anyone out there who's familiar with these kinds of management systems, there's a perfect comparison. If you've ever heard of ISO 27001 for information security, well, this new standard is basically its AI cousin. Think of it like this: 27001 is all about protecting the data itself, keeping it safe and secure. But this new one, 42001, is about making sure the intelligence we get from that data is used responsibly. It's a really crucial difference.
All right, so how does this thing actually work in the real world? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Basically, the standard gives you a practical blueprint for building trustworthy AI right from the very beginning. And this is key. It's not just a bunch of vague, high-level ideas. Nope, this is a concrete, step-by-step process.
So a central rule here is that governance, the rules and oversight, has to be woven into every single stage of an AI's life. This makes sure that accountability is baked in from the start, not just slapped on as an afterthought when something goes wrong. We're talking about the whole shebang, from the very first spark of an idea all the way to when the system is eventually shut down for good.
Now, this is where the standard really shows its teeth. It actually requires a two-pronged approach to risk. See, it's not enough to just look inward and worry about risks to the company, stuff like security threats or getting sued. The standard forces organizations to also look outward and do something called an AI impact assessment. And that's all about figuring out the potential harm to real people and to society as a whole. We're talking about big stuff here, like bias, fairness, and fundamental human rights.
Okay, so where does this one standard fit into the whole kind of confusing jigsaw puzzle of AI rules and regulations that are popping up all over the world? It's a great question.
The best way to think about it is as the connective tissue. It's the practical how-to guide. All those high-level principles you hear about in big laws or ethical frameworks? Well, this standard takes those lofty ideas and translates them into actual, concrete steps a company can take. And more importantly, can prove they've taken.
And you can really see its unique spot when you put it next to the other big players. So, you've got the NIST AI framework, which is basically a toolkit of what to consider. It's great advice. Then you have the big one, the EU AI Act, which lays down the law with must-do legal requirements. ISO 42001 slides right in the middle. It's the how-to, the certifiable system that lets you put the NIST ideas into practice and prove you're ready for the EU's rules. It's the engine that makes both of them run.
Which brings us to the real bottom line, the payoff.
And this is important. Getting on board with this standard isn't just about avoiding trouble. It's about completely reframing compliance, turning it from this expensive chore into a really powerful strategic advantage.
So what do you actually get out of this in the real world? Well, first off, you're building real, provable trust with your customers, your partners, even the regulators. That's huge. You're also getting ahead of the curve, getting your house in order for big laws like the EU AI Act before they become a massive headache. And honestly, maybe most importantly, it gives you a serious competitive advantage. In today's world, people want to see proof that your AI is responsible. They don't just want to hear your promises.
When you really boil it all down, in a world that is just flooded with companies all claiming to have the best AI, having a certified stamp of trust, well, that's the ultimate brand differentiator. Being able to actually prove that your systems are governed responsibly, that's not just a nice little extra anymore. It's your single most powerful asset. It's what will make you stand out from the crowd.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one simple question to think about. Is your AI built on trust, or is it just built on code? Because in this new age we're entering, having clever code simply isn't going to be enough. The real foundation, that has to be trust.